This is Stars and Scopes with your pal Uma Ruby. Updated every new and full moon with guidance based on planetary transits in the current sky and extra support from tarot. For accuracy, do listen to your rising sign first if you know it, but do feel free to listen to your sun, moon and rising if you'd like the full picture. If you're loving this work and you've got some coins to spare, throw them in the tin over at buymeacoffee.com/Uma Ruby and you can buy me a coffee. Okay, let's drop into it. Hello Aquarius and Aquarius Rising. Welcome to your horoscope for the new moon happening in Gemini on the 30th of May. This is going to be the perfect time for you to start calling in some activation in your creative zone, in your pleasure zone, your heart-led space. Now, there's some really positive stuff happening in the sky at this moment to aid this, coupled with maybe some slight restrictions. So we'll talk about that first, get that out of the way, and then we can dive into what we can hope to expect and what you can do. You can actively work with this energy this time around. We're not in eclipse energy. We've got a lovely, normal, stock standard new moon. So activate and call it in. Just quickly, Saturn is still in your first house at 25 degrees. And this time it's found itself in a square with Mercury in Taurus, which also Mercury is retrograde. So when it comes to communicating, when it comes to getting messages across, now is the time to really think what you're going to say before you say it. That's paramount. Saturn's in your first house. Saturn's happy there. Saturn rules your sign. So you kind of know what to do. You're good at restriction. You're good at the rules. You're good at discernment, I might say. Mercury retrograde, sometimes there can be some short circuits when it comes to transposing messages. So we've just got to be mindful of that, and we've really got to work with that. However, everything else seems to be really in your favor, because we've got Mars and Jupiter in Aries, your third house of communication, of the village. So I'll talk you quickly through the tarot cards and the points that they're finding themselves with this lunation. The new moon's happening at 9 degrees of Gemini, and the tarot card that correlates with that point is the Eight of Swords, which is a mental cage. It's being bound by your own thought processes, by your own thought forms. It's having too many options or not enough, or too many what ifs, what shoulda, coulda, woulda, all of that kind of stuff. It's that place of almost like being unable to move because there's just too much mental turbulence going on. It's also the card that reminds us that we are in control of this, that we absolutely can get ourselves through any difficulty that we might be having in our mental space. The Eight of Swords, you can't see it, but the figure that stands in the Eight of Swords is blindfolded in this cage, but they could probably just lean over and cut off their binds with one of the swords. You know, everything looks quite loose. There's still options to move forward. And that's what I feel for you, Aquarius, at this new moon. Mars is happy as Larry in Aries. It's the sign they feel most comfortable in. And Jupiter is in a conjunction with Mars right now, and we know that Jupiter just expands everything it touches. It really encourages. It's the planet, of encouragement. It's like the big sister, sort of like, you can do it, girl. So when it comes to your really direct, concise, forward-moving communication style, you've got a lot of support in there, which would work to counterbalance Mercury's retrograde position and that restriction from Saturn. So there is an encouragement here for messages that you hold to be put forward, solutions to problems maybe, or something around that kind of nature. The tarot card that relates to the position in the zodiac that they're in right now, 3 degrees and 4 degrees of Aries, is the Two of Wands, which is the card of the action plan. It's also a Mars Aries card, so it's perfect. Everything's really lining up. So whatever it is that you've been ruminating over, you have encouragement from our solar system to action some of these thought forms into direct messages. So what is it in fifth house vibes that you're feeling caged about, Aquarius? Where can you move and find the way out in your pleasure zone, in your heart-led spaces? What would you like to engage in terms of cute dates or creativity? What are you holding yourself back from because you feel that you lack the proper credentials, or you feel that you can't because of whatever social more it is that you might be feeling restricted by? What situation has been playing on your mind for some time that now is the moment to directly communicate your thoughts on the matter? This is the beginning of a fresh new cycle for you creatively, a really fresh new cycle for you in lands of pleasure. What does that mean to you? What do the words pleasure and freedom mean for you? So they're the literal energies that we're working with in the current sky at the moment. For these readings, I also pulled you a private tarot spread to get some more intuitive guidance here. And it's really beautiful how these are lining up with what we're dealing with upstairs. So on the back of the deck, I got the Hermit for you, which is that moment of stepping away to learn the lessons of retreating, but not to be alone to protect anybody from you, not to hide away, but to be still and to find the wisdom, to really soul search in a lot of ways. So we're going to use that as the base note for this reading. I pulled you 3 cards. I've got the 2 of Cups, I have the 7 of Pentacles, and I have the 5 of Swords. So let's talk about the 7 of Pentacles first, because this is where Mercury is in the sky. Interesting that it came out for your reading. We've been talking about this a lot the last month, this feeling of having planted all of the seeds, tilled the soil, of working hard on something, really putting all of your energy and effort into it. Really, a lot of blood, sweat and tears has gone into this concept, whatever it might be. But that feeling of dissatisfaction, that feeling of wondering if it will grow any further than it has, the idea of thinking, is it dying off? Have I overwatered or not watered enough? The 2 of Cups is a soul contract. The 2 of Cups is 2 folks coming together and sharing a cup of love, a cup of emotion, an emotional bond. And the 5 of Swords is a battle with no winners. A lot of defense, a lot of truths being shot back and forth, but in the end, there's no victor. There's no one in this situation that's going to come out on top or righteous in any way. So looking at this, I'm getting a sense that there is some way that you're relating to those closest to you, those really near and dear relationships. You're feeling exhausted by them. You're feeling that perhaps they've had their day. Perhaps you can't reap any more harvest from this. This reading's changed tack a little bit, so I'm going to be gentle. And I am going to remind you of Mercury's retrograde position and to be mindful of how direct your truth is going to come across, because this is gentle stuff. It's a very difficult moment when a relationship has had its season, when the feeling is that it can go no further, or there's no more to learn or to grow using this energy. And as an Aquarius, you are led by your air. You're an incredibly intellectual, smart, diligent thinker. And so to see this happening for you, the response in part of your existence, part of your makeup, would be to be direct and be truthful and cut it off. But I'm looking at the Hermit here, and that sense of soul mapping, of journeying with oneself in order to gain clarity. I suspect this is what you need, Aquarius, rather than engaging in any kind of battle for moral supremacy or of trying to win out as the truth teller. I think that the writing is probably on the wall with whatever relationship or relationships this is in reference to. And I think that you're not the only one feeling it. You're probably the first one to say it because, as I said, Aquarius, truth. Let's be mindful of the power of this new moon. Let's be mindful of what you can call in and how you can co-create with the planets in order to gain traction and to shift and to get some movement going on. What does your creative expression mean to you? How do you articulate that? What does your sexual expression mean to you? How do you articulate that? Where do you get your needs met, and in what way? I would maybe gently suggest that it would be through direct communication, through talking about it. Gemini rules your 5th house of all of these things, and Gemini is the best at talking it over, of looking at the options, of discussing these feelings rather than just feeling them alone, like some of our water sign friends. So in this maybe potentially difficult moment, I think that the new moon is time for you to manifest pleasure, manifest a freshness in that part of your life, and also go gently with what messages need to be sent and what truths need to be told. I really hold you in this, Aquarius. I thought that we'd get a reprieve from the ecliptic season. Perhaps not. Perhaps there's more shifts and changes to come. Do what you do best and keep everyone in mind when you do it. I'm going to leave this reading here, Aquarius. Thank you so much for listening in. If you'd like to support the work, as I said, you can head over to buymeacoffee.com/Uma Ruby and throw some coins in the tin. It's always very appreciated. And I'll see you in 2 weeks for the full moon in Sagittarius, where we can release some of our wanderlust. All my very best to you, Aquarius. New moon blessings. You've got my love. Put it in your back pocket and I'll speak to you soon. Ta-da.